I learned it from my mom. But when he sees the necklace she's wearing, he's stunned. Darren Cole adjusted the rearview mirror and checked the GPS for the third time. 3.5 hours on the road, and there were still 50 minutes left until he reached home. The air conditioning struggled against the late afternoon heat, while the figures from his last meeting echoed in his head like a mantra. 12% growth, tight margins, the need for restructuring. A successful executive. It was the title he carried with pride. Chief Executive Officer at one of the largest corporations in the country. An apartment in the best neighborhood. A German car. A bank account that would make anyone dream. Everything he'd aspired to when he was younger. But for months, he'd felt a constant emptiness, as if he were just a cog in a machine, performing functions without any real purpose. Emotionally drained. The feeling haunted him during sleepless nights, lonely weekends, and endless meetings that repeated themselves. The GPS showed 2 possible routes. The main road and a secondary one that cut straight through the countryside. Without knowing why, he turned the steering wheel to the right. An impulse, a need to break from the predictable. The secondary road stretched out before him, narrow and winding. On one side, fields rolling to the horizon. On the other, low hills covered in dense vegetation. No signs, nothing but asphalt and scenery. Darren instinctively slowed down. It was as though he had entered another world. No cars, no houses, no visible life. Just the road cutting through the silence. He was beginning to question his decision when he felt the car vibrate. A strange noise came from below on the right side. The steering wheel started pulling to one side. Damn it! He pulled over onto the shoulder. A flat tire. In the middle of nowhere, Darren looked around. Literally nothing. Empty fields in every direction. Not a house, not a power pole, no sign of civilization. He grabbed his phone. 0 bars. Completely no signal. Seriously? He got out of the car and walked a few yards down the road, holding his phone up. He tried different positions, different angles. Nothing. It was like he was in an electronic black hole. He went back to the car and popped the trunk. The jack and the spare were there, covered by a thin layer of dust. When was the last time he'd changed a tire? He couldn't remember. In recent years, he always had insurance, tow trucks, roadside assistance. He placed the jack on the ground and tried to position it under the car. The tool seemed not to fit properly. Darren forced it, adjusted it, tried different points. The sun was beating down hard, making him take off his jacket. 15 minutes of frustrating attempts. His shirt was sticking to his back, stained with sweat. Where the hell was everyone? Was this road abandoned? A car passed far away, but didn't slow down when it saw the hazard lights. "Hey!" Darren waved uselessly. The vehicle was already gone over the horizon. Another 20 minutes. Another car appeared. This time, Darren stood in the road, waving frantically. The driver honked and swerved angrily. "Son of a..." he muttered, walking back to the shoulder. He tried his phone again. 0. Absolutely nothing. It was as if he were in a dead zone, forgotten by the world. 40 minutes after the tire went flat, just as he was about to give up and start walking for help, he heard a voice. "Need some help?" Darren turned, surprised. A small girl was there, standing a few feet from the car. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Brown hair in a messy ponytail, hands dirty with soil, simple but clean clothes. She had appeared out of nowhere, like a ghost. "Where did you come from?" was the first thing he managed to ask. "From home. We live over there." She pointed vaguely beyond a rise in the terrain. Darren didn't see any building, but he believed her. "You're not managing to fix it?" "No. And there's no signal here. Never is. It's because of the hills." "What's your name?" "Nina. And do you know how to change a tire?" he asked, more out of politeness than genuine belief. "I learned it from my mom." The answer came simply, without bravado, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Nina approached the car and examined the jack. "You're putting it in the wrong spot. It has to go here." To his surprise, she repositioned the tool with confident, precise movements. Darren watched, incredulous. A 7-year-old child solving a problem that he, with all his education and professional success, couldn't handle. "What's your name, Mr. Fancy Car?" Nina asked as she began loosening the lug nuts. "Darren." "I'm Nina. Were you traveling somewhere?" Returning home." The answer sounded strange even to him. Home. The empty apartment. Nina worked with focus, her small figure leaning over the wheel. Darren held parts when she asked, tightened lug nuts when she indicated. It was humiliating and, at the same time, liberating. He didn't need to lead, just help. "Your mum taught you really well. She teaches me a bunch of stuff. Says you have to know how to do things on your own." "Is she a mechanic?" "No," Nina smiled. "She works at a store, but she knows how to do everything she needs." A woman who knew a bit of everything. Darren tried to recall the last time he had learned something practical, something hands-on. Everything in his life was abstract. Numbers, strategies, meetings. "Do you have any siblings?" "No, it's just me and my mom." "And your dad?" The question slipped out before he thought. Nina didn't seem bothered. "I don't have one. My mom says it's better that way." The naturalness of her response surprised him. No drama, no bitterness, just a fact. They continued working in silence. Darren watched the child's skill, her early independence. When had he lost the ability to do simple things? "Done." Nina stood up, wiping her hands on her now-stained shirt. "The tires changed." "Thank you. Really. You saved me." Darren reached for his wallet. "Let me give you something. 20, 50? "No need." She shook her head firmly. "We help because we should help." Nina turned to go. That's when it happened. She took a hurried step, stepped into a small hole in the shoulder and lost her balance. She tried to hold on but fell to her knees on the asphalt. "Are you hurt?" Darren rushed to help her up. "I'm okay." Nina stood quickly, but something had fallen from her shirt. A necklace, golden. Shining on the grey asphalt, Darren felt the world stop. His heart pounded, blood turning cold in his veins. It was impossible. It couldn't be. The necklace was identical to the one he had given Marla 9 years ago. Exactly identical. The same delicate design, the same thin chain, the same golden heart as a pendant. "My necklace!" Nina quickly bent to pick it up, but Darren was faster. He held the object in trembling fingers, slowly turned it over, his heart pounding erratically. On the back of the heart was still the engraving he had done at an expensive jeweler in the city, D+M forever. Darren felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. His legs shook slightly. His mouth went dry. "It's mine." Nina held out her small hand. "Please, I need to give it back to my mom." Is it yours?" he managed to ask, his voice hoarser than usual. "It's my mom's. She lets me wear it sometimes when I go play." "Has your mom had this necklace for a long time?" "Forever." Nina waved her hand impatiently. "Can I have it back?" Darren returned the necklace but couldn't look away. It couldn't be a coincidence. There couldn't be 2 identical necklaces with the same custom inscription. "What's your mom's name?" "Mom," Nina answered as if it were obvious. "But what's her real name?" Nina looked at him curiously. "Why do you want to know?" "It's just, the necklace is pretty. It looks old. My mom's had it forever." Nina tucked the necklace carefully inside her shirt. "Since before I was born." The world spun around Darren. Marla. It had to be Marla. But how? Why? What was she doing out here, in the middle of nowhere, with a 7-year-old daughter? "Well, I gotta go," Nina said, already moving away. "Bye, Mr. Darren, wait," Darren almost shouted but held back. "Thank you for your help. You saved me." "You're welcome." Nina smiled and walked toward the rise in the terrain, disappearing quickly. Darren stood on the shoulder, watching her go. The tire was changed, the tools put away, the car ready to continue the trip. But something fundamental had changed. He got in the car mechanically, started the engine. His hands still trembled slightly on the wheel. 8 years. 8 years since he'd last seen Marla. 8 years since he'd made the choice that changed his life. He remembered the day with painful clarity. The incredible promotion in the big city, regional vice presidency, triple salary, company apartment, car. Everything he had ever wanted. Marla had asked him to stay. or to take her along, but Marla's town had roots. She was caring for her sick grandmother. She had a small business that was growing. She had friends, family, a life. He chose to leave, chose career, success, the future that seemed so bright. "Go, follow your dream," she had said, smiling through tears. "But take the necklace, so you remember it was real." But he didn't take it, he left it for her. "Keep it for me," he said. "One day I'll come back to get it." He never did. Marla had tried to keep in touch in the first few months, calls, messages, letters. He always replied quickly, but the replies became shorter, more spaced out. Work consumed everything. Meetings, projects, ambition. After a year, she stopped trying. And now there it was. The past materialized in a golden necklace around the neck of a 7-year-old, a child who might be connected to him somehow. No, impossible. The math didn't add up, or did it? Darren slowly accelerated, trying to leave the road behind. But with every mile, his mind returned to the necklace, to Nina's serious eyes, to the simplicity with which she had said, "It's my mom's." A deep pain began to grow in his chest, a pain he'd tried to bury under layers of work, ambition, and apparent success, a pain he recognized as regret. 50 minutes later, he arrived home. Apartment on the 15th floor, a view of the city, 24-hour concierge. He entered the elevator and rode in silence. He unlocked the door to his apartment. Total silence. Designer furniture. Everything in place. All immaculate. He tossed his keys on the kitchen counter and went straight to the living room window. The city stretched infinitely, lights starting to flicker in the twilight. Millions of people, millions of ambitions, millions of lonely hearts. He loosened his tie without taking his eyes off the view. The necklace wouldn't leave his thoughts. Nina changing the tire more competently than he had. "I learned from my mum." Marla had become a mother. Marla lived somewhere near that road. Marla still had the necklace. He went to the bathroom and looked at his reflection in the mirror, tired face, dark circles under his eyes, stubble starting to turn grey at the temples. When had he gotten so old? When had he lost the youth Marla knew? He took a long shower, letting the hot water wash away the day. He put on sweatpants and an old t-shirt, went to the kitchen. He opened the fridge, a few bottles of water, a 2-day-old pre-made salad, random sauces. He closed it without taking anything. He sat on the couch, picked up the remote, flipped through channels mindlessly, turned it off. The apartment was too quiet. Only the distant sound of cars below. Always those sounds. Never familiar voices, never laughter, never life. He went out to the balcony. The night breeze was coming in. He lit a cigarette, something he did less and less often. The smoke drifted into the night air. He thought of Nina, a 7-year-old child who knew more about helping people than he'd learned in his entire adult life. A child carrying a piece of his past without knowing it. And Marla. Marla was somewhere not too far away, raising Nina alone, working, living, moving on. She had kept the necklace for 8 years. Why? Sentimentality, stubbornness, or something else? Darren finished the cigarette and flicked the butt off the balcony, went back inside. He brewed a strong coffee, sat down at the kitchen table. His laptop was there, as always. He opened it. Unread emails, reports to review. He closed it again. He just sat there, staring at the white kitchen wall. Everything perfect, everything empty. The phone rang. It was Marcus, his business partner, probably about the reports he should have reviewed. He let it ring until it stopped. It rang again. He ignored it. The third time, he answered, irritated. "What is it, Marcus?" "Man, where are you? I need those numbers for tomorrow." "Send them by email. I'll look later." "Later? Darren, the meeting is at 8 a. Thomas, I know when the meeting is. Are you all right?" "I'm fine." "You sound strange. I'm just tired." "Okay, but I really need those numbers." "All right." He hung up without waiting for a response. He returned to the couch, lay down, staring at the ceiling. The air conditioning kept the temperature perfect. The ambient sound blocked any external noise, absolute comfort. But all he could think of was Nina's voice. "I learned from my mom." and the shine of the golden necklace on the asphalt. A 7-year-old had learned more about life in a few years than he had in his entire meteoric career, and Marla, the woman he had loved and left behind, was raising that child, teaching values he had forgotten existed. He closed his eyes. He saw the necklace again, heard Nina's voice again, felt the apartment's emptiness around him once more. A tear escaped, then another. For the first time in 8 years, he allowed himself to feel the pain of what he'd left behind, to feel the emptiness of what he had achieved, to feel the possibility that maybe, just maybe, he had made the wrong decision. He got up and went to the window again. Down below, the city was still pulsating. Life, movement, infinite possibilities. But all he could think about was a deserted road, a helpful child, and a necklace that should have been forgotten. Something had started to hurt inside him again, and this time he couldn't ignore it. The phone rang again. He let it ring. Then again. And again. Darren sank back onto the couch, ignoring everything. The apartment, emails, calls, the success he had built. For the first time in years, he knew exactly what was missing. And he didn't know if he had the courage to go after it. For 3 consecutive nights, Darren stayed awake thinking about the golden necklace, Nina solemnly changing the tire. "I learned from my mum." The phrase echoed endlessly in his mind. On the 4th night, he made a decision. He sat in front of the computer and typed, "Private investigators, absolute discretion." Several results popped up. He chose one that looked professional. Quiet work, no unnecessary questions. In the office, a grey-haired man with tired eyes. Darren felt strange hiring someone to find a person after so long. "What exactly do you need to know?" The investigator adjusted his glasses. "A woman, Marla Santos, about 35 years old, lives in a small town, maybe near country roads. She has a 7-year-old daughter, Nina." Darren hesitated before continuing. "Additional information. The town probably has poor cell service, rural men with hills. The woman works not sure where. The child helps strangers on the road." The investigator took notes meticulously. "Previous relationship with this woman? We were 8 years ago." Darren felt his throat tighten. "I see. How long do you need for the results?" "A maximum of 1 week." Darren left a substantial advance payment and left. In the car, with sweaty hands, he questioned himself. What was he doing? Why invade Marla's life after so long in silence? But the necklace. That cursed necklace. The following days were torture. Important meetings seemed irrelevant. Complex spreadsheets no longer held his attention. Each time the phone rang, his heart raced. On the 6th day, the call came. "Mr. Darren, we found information on Marla Santos." "Tell me." "She lives in Green Hills, works in a local store. She has a 7-year-old daughter, Nina. They live modestly, small house on Flower Street. The child attends the local school." Darren frantically took notes. "Green Hills, are you absolutely sure? Information confirmed from multiple sources. Need more details?" "No, thank you." He hung up, hands shaking. Green Hills. Why did that name send a chill down his spine? He quickly typed in Google Maps. Green Hills location. The map loaded. A red pin appeared. Darren froze. It couldn't be real. He clicked for more info, checked coordinates, read descriptions. His vision blurred. Green Hills. It wasn't just where Marla lived. It was his hometown, the place where he was born 36 years ago, where he learned to ride a bike in the local park, where he had his first kiss at a school dance, where he dreamed of leaving the small town to conquer the world, the town he had sworn never to set foot in again when he left for an internship in the big city at 18. Darren sank into his chair, breathing heavily. How hadn't he recognized it? How had he passed by and not realized? Maybe because it had changed so much. Maybe because he had intentionally blocked any memory of the simple life he left behind, chasing greatness. Marla had returned to his hometown, raising Nina there, the same place he had grown up, lived his first 17 years. It was as if the universe was playing a trick on him, offering a second chance, or exacting cosmic revenge. He remembered the day he left. January 20th, bright sun, small suitcase, proud parents at the bus station, friends saying goodbye, his then-girlfriend crying. "I'll come back during vacation," he promised. "It's just until I settle down." He never returned, changed his phone number, changed his email, cut all ties with that life he considered too small for his dreams. And now Marla, the woman he met years later in another city, was there, raising Nina alone on the same streets where he once played soccer. Darren stood up, began pacing the office. He had to decide, go or not go. After 8 years of silence, did he have the right to appear in Marla's life? What if she had moved on? What if Nina was... He stopped. He couldn't think about that now. He picked up the phone, dialed his secretary. "Cancel everything next week, urgent trip." "But sir, there's a meeting with..." "Cancel everything." He hung up, went to his computer, searched routes to Green Hills, 2.5 hours by car. He could go and return the same day, but he knew it wouldn't be that simple. Driving home, his mind worked feverishly. Green Hills. How much had it changed in 18 years? His parents died in an accident when he was 22. There was nothing left there for him, except now. Now there was Marla and Nina. In the apartment, he went straight to the closet, found a small box in the back. Inside, old photographs, the town, friends, his parents, moments of a life he had buried under ambition and success. One specific photo made him stop. The school soccer team. He was 16, smiling. Behind him, the field where Nina might be playing now. He quickly put it away. Too painful. He packed a small bag. He had no idea how long he'd stay. Maybe a day, maybe a week. Maybe it would change his life completely. At 8 the next morning, he was in his car, Monday. Heavy traffic leaving the city, but it didn't matter. It gave him time to think. 2 hours later, he recognized landmarks on the road. Familiar hills, old signs, the curve where he had his first bike accident. He was entering Green Hills for the first time in 18 years. The town had changed, busier. Some new buildings, but the essence remained. The same streets, the same central square, the church still atop the hill. He drove slowly, memories flooding his mind. He looked for the bakery where, according to the investigator, she worked. He found it on the main street, the Cozy Corner Bakery. He parked across the street, engine running, heart pounding. There it was. Finally, after 8 years, he was about to see Marla again, in the town where he was born, where everything began and ended. He took a deep breath, turned off the engine, opened the door, and took the first step towards something that could change everything. Darren stopped at a small toy store in the center of Green Hills. The town was smaller than he remembered, but he recognized every corner. He wanted something simple, sincere. His eyes landed on a rag doll with a floral dress. It wasn't expensive or fancy. It was just sweet. "It's for a 7-year-old girl," he told the middle-aged clerk, who looked at him curiously. "Oh, yes. We have some more modern ones with lights and sounds." "No?" He held on to the rag doll. "This one's perfect. Flower Street, number 143. The GPS guided him to a quiet road, a small house, simple paint, a tiny front yard, a makeshift swing hanging from a tree. Darren parked, took a deep breath. His hands trembled around the gift wrapped in blue paper. He climbed the 3 steps to the door, rang the doorbell, footsteps inside. The door opened. Marla. Time froze. She looked more mature, her hair slightly shorter, a few fine lines around her eyes. But it was definitely her. Her face went through a rapid sequence of emotions. Total surprise, then pain, then something like resolve, mixed with resignation. And finally, just memory. "Darren." It wasn't a question. "Hi, Marla." His voice came out rougher than he intended. Nina appeared behind her, curious. "Mom, who is it?" "It's the man I helped with the tire." Nina smiled. "You came back." Darren knelt, getting to her level. "Hi, Nina. I brought something for you." He held out the gift. Nina's eyes lit up. "For me? Really? Really?" She tore the paper with childish enthusiasm. Out came the rag doll. A doll! She hugged the toy against her chest. She can sleep with me. Marla watched it all in silence, her expression indescribable. Thank you, sir. She's beautiful. Nina twirled with the doll in her arms. Mom, can he come in, just for a little while? Marla hesitated. Darren saw the conflict in her eyes. Finally, she gave a small nod. Come in. The house was small but cozy. Simple furniture, photos on the wall, the smell of coffee and flowers. Darren followed Marla to the living room. Nina stayed on the couch, introducing the new doll to her other toys. Sit. Marla gestured to an armchair. He sat. She settled on the couch, keeping her distance. How did you find me? She asked directly, no small talk. An investigator. Darren looked at his hands. The necklace. I recognized it. The necklace. She instinctively touched her neck, though she wasn't wearing it now. So that's why... Mom, Nina interrupted. Can he come back another day? I want him to see my doll play with the others. We'll see, honey. Marla kept her gaze on Darren. Come on, Mom. We hardly get any visitors. Only Mrs. Rose from the bakery stops by sometimes. The innocent remark hung heavy in the air. Hardly any visitors in a house that should have hosted friends, family, a social life. Darren felt something tighten in his chest. Marla took a deep breath. Nina, go play in your room for a bit. I need to talk to the gentleman. Okay, but don't send him away too soon. Nina ran off with her doll. The silence in the room was heavy. First, I want you to really look around, Marla finally said. Darren obeyed. That's when he realized the street seen through the window, the angle of the light, the smell in the air. My God, he whispered. Yes. Her voice was controlled. It's here. Exactly here. In your childhood neighborhood. 3 houses away from where you used to live. Marla interlaced her fingers. This used to be Mrs. Martinez's place. Remember her? Darren felt the world spin. Mrs. Martinez. She died 5 years ago. Her daughter sold the house. I bought it. Marla looked him in the eye. Ironic, right? You ran away from here because it was too small for you, and I found refuge right where you grew up. He stayed silent, just absorbing. You didn't just leave me, Darren. She stood, walking to the window. You left this place. All of it. As if everything were too small for your new life. Darren could only listen. Every word hurt because it was true. You know what hurts the most, Marla continued, looking outside. Not that you left, but that you erased everything, changed your number, changed your email. As if you needed to forget us completely to become who you wanted to be. I was 23, he said softly, and I was 25. I also had dreams. I also wanted to grow. Marla turned. But I didn't need to destroy everything in the process. Does Nina have anyone to play with? Darren asked, and unintentionally changing the subject. At school, but here, it's just the 2 of us. Marla sat back down. She doesn't complain, kids adapt. How do you explain about her father? I tell her the truth, that her dad made a different choice, that he's living his life somewhere else. Marla paused. That it wasn't about her, it was about his dreams. The word dreams weighed between them. Darren thought of his empty apartment waiting for him, of weekends spent alone, of vacations in paradise spots, always alone. What about you? He asked. Your dreams. My dreams changed. Now they're about raising a child who knows how to help others, who knows we belong to each other, who doesn't need to run away from where she's happy. Each word felt like a subtle stab. Darren didn't try to defend himself. He just absorbed it. I need to go, he finally said. Nina appeared at that moment. Bye, mister. Thanks again. She ran over and hugged his legs. When you come back, we can play with my doll. Darren glanced at Marla, who looked away. We'll see, Nina. Do you live far? A bit. Alone? The question was innocent, but it pierced him like a spear. Alone. It's sad to live alone, Nina said simply. At the door, Marla walked him out. Thank you, Darren said, for letting me in. She just nodded. Marla? No, not today. He nodded, understanding. He left feeling strange, In the car, he looked back at the house. Nina was waving from the window with her new doll, a child who was happy with so little, a child who didn't know he'd chosen to live alone. He drove away slowly. With each mile, the conversation echoed. Marla talking about changed dreams, Nina saying it was sad to be alone, his own admission that he had no family, no social life, nothing but work. 50 minutes later, he was back at his apartment. Total silence, perfect furniture, nothing out of place. He went to the window. The big city stretched infinitely. Millions of lights, millions of people in their individual glass and concrete boxes. He looked around. Everything he had achieved was right there. The luxury apartment, the privileged view, the designer furniture, the home theater he watched alone, the gourmet kitchen where he barely cooked, the huge bedroom with a king-size bed for just one person. Then the realization came with brutal clarity. Nina was right. It was sad living alone. Not just romantically sad, but fundamentally wrong. Human beings weren't made to live isolated in towers of glass, proud of their solitude. He sat on the imported leather sofa and, for the first time in 8 years, allowed himself to feel the true weight of his choices. It wasn't just about Marla. It was about the idea of belonging somewhere, having a community, knowing your neighbors, sharing coffee, having someone who'd notice if you didn't come home at night. He had gotten exactly what he wanted, and he was completely alone. Nina, sleeping with her new doll in a house filled with love, even if small. Marla cooking dinner for two, talking about the day, laughing at inside jokes. A simple life, but complete. And here he was, surrounded by luxury, surrounded by nothing. The phone rang. Marcus about work. Darren looked at the device and realized he had no contacts that weren't work-related, no friend to have dinner with, no family to visit, no Nina to give a simple doll to. He let it ring until it stopped. For the first time, he understood that he'd built a gilded prison, and maybe he was finally ready to question whether it was worth it. Back in the apartment, Darren closed the door and stood in the entrance hall. 200 square feet just for the hall. Imported Italian marble floor, a full-length mirror with a gold frame, a designer console that cost more than Marla's monthly salary. He walked into the living room. 400 square feet of open space, genuine Italian leather sofas arranged at the perfect angle, a glass coffee table with a brushed steel base, a home theater with a 75-inch screen, and surround sound the salesman promised was like being at the movies. When was the last time he watched anything? He continued into the gourmet kitchen, imported Egyptian granite, stainless steel appliances, all built in, an Italian steam oven, a German induction cooktop, a side-by-side fridge with a digital display. He opened it, a few bottles of mineral water, an expired yogurt, soy sauce from last week. He shut it quickly. The silence was absolute, no smell of food. When was the last time he actually cooked? He couldn't remember. He always ordered delivery, always Japanese or Thai, always eating alone at a dining table for 10. He went to the dining area, a massive oak table imported from Portugal. 10 upholstered chairs that had never been filled at the same time. In fact, rarely more than one was used. Him at the head of the table, laptop open, eating without noticing what he was eating. No laughter. The apartment had never heard genuine laughter. Maybe a forced chuckle during phone meetings. Maybe a sound of approval when he closed a contract. But real, spontaneous shared laughter. He couldn't recall any. He walked to the master bedroom. A king-size bed with a leather-upholstered headboard. When was the last time he slept beside someone? There had been occasional flings over the years, but none that led to shared mornings or making breakfast for two. The closet was bigger than Nina's entire bedroom, suits arranged by color and season, shirts neatly pressed on wooden hangers, Italian shoes displayed like in a boutique. Everything perfect, everything devoid of meaning. He returned to the living room and looked out the panoramic window. A privileged view of the city, the sunset turning buildings golden. It was objectively beautiful, objectively impressive, but subjectively nothing. It meant nothing beyond status, financial achievement. There were no memories attached to that view, no stories to tell about that sunset. He sat on the sofa again, looking around, really seeing it this time. Expensive paintings on the walls, chosen by a decorator, not because he liked them, but because they added value to the space. There wasn't a single personal photo, no signs of a life lived, with no one else around. That was what hurt the most. There were no traces of another person, no extra toothbrush, no mug left in the sink, no misplaced shoes, nothing to indicate another human being existed in this space. He had bought the apartment 4 years ago. It was the dream. A penthouse in one of the most expensive neighborhoods. 3 suites, 1 master with a walk-in closet and a bathroom with a whirlpool tub, a sauna, wine cellar for 200 bottles, gourmet space with an electric grill, private gym, private pool, everything a successful man needed, everything he had dreamed of when he started working, and now, at 35, owning all of it, the only thing he could think of was Marla's small house. The smell of coffee, Nina hugging her new rag doll, genuine laughter, tangible warmth, even with simple furniture. He went to the bar, an 18-year-old Scotch, a crystal glass from Ireland. He poured 2 fingers, sat down again. The liquid burned but brought no comfort. The apartment was spotless. The cleaning lady came twice a week and didn't have much to do, just dust objects that never moved, vacuum carpets that never saw footprints besides his, organizer kitchen practically used for display. He looked at the clock, 7 in the evening. In other homes, it was family dinner time, talking about the day, little arguments and quick makeups, weekend plans, life happening in real time. Here, it was time to decide which takeout to order, to eat alone, watching economic news, to review emails that could wait until Monday, to lie on a giant bed and realize how empty it felt. He had climbed, financially, professionally, socially. He was at the top of the pyramid he'd meticulously built for 12 years, executive vice president, a 6-figure salary, an apartment worth more than his parents' old house, a German car in the garage, a no-limit credit card. But he had hollowed out. There was nothing left but material achievements, no stories to tell that weren't about closed deals, no people to share his success with, aside from work colleagues, no one who truly cared whether he came home or not. The doorbell rang, delivery, Thai food this time. He paid generously, as always. Spread the food on the dining table, pulled out a chair, opened his laptop. He ate mechanically while answering emails. He didn't notice the taste of the food. He didn't know if it was good or bad. He was just fulfilling a biological need. When he finished, he stored the leftovers, cleaned the table. Everything went back in place, as if nothing had happened. He went to the bedroom, changed clothes, brushed his teeth looking in the mirror. The face of a successful man, professional beard, trims twice a week, expensive skincare products promising youth, everything well-maintained, everything perfect. He lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, absolute silence. Not even someone else's snoring, not another person's breathing, not even footsteps in another room. He picked up his phone, scrolled through the contacts. Who could he call just to talk? Marcus was a business partner. They always talked shop. A few client contacts, former colleagues who only showed up when they needed something. Some numbers with no names he didn't remember. There wasn't a single number he could dial just to hear a friendly voice, to vent, to share thoughts. Simply not be alone. He turned the phone off and went back to staring at the ceiling. He had gotten exactly what he wanted. And he was completely empty. The perfect apartment, the perfect life, the perfect void. Maybe Nina was right. Maybe living alone was truly sad. Not just practically, but fundamentally wrong. Humans weren't built to exist in glass towers, celebrating solitary achievements, sleeping in beds made for 2 but used by 1. He closed his eyes, trying to sleep, but all he could see was Marla's small house, Nina's spontaneous hug, the smell of home, the feeling of belonging. And he realized he couldn't recall the last time he felt at home. Monday, 6:30 a.m. Darren pulled into the company parking garage, same time as always, same reserved spot for directors, the same mechanical movement to turn off the car alarm. The corporate building rose before him, 23 floors of glass and steel, a perfect reflection of the morning sky. Impressive as always, a symbol of power, of achievement, of everything he had fought for. Elevator to the 19th floor. Routine greetings at reception. The same good morning to the secretary who didn't even look up. The same route to his corner office with a panoramic view of the city. He sat in the ergonomic German chair, booted up the top-of-the-line computer. 3 monitors lit up simultaneously, loaded with spreadsheets, emails, presentations. First email. Darren, we need to review the third quarter numbers. 18% growth, a record. He opened the spreadsheet. The numbers were truly impressive. Revenue up, margins increasing. Optimistic projections. Exactly the kind of results the board wanted. Yet inside, he felt nothing. No excitement like before. No thrill of accomplishment. The numbers were just numbers. Colorful abstractions on a screen. Second email. Meeting at 9 a.m. Client XYZ confirmed contract expansion. He checked the details. A contract worth $2 million over the next 12 months. A substantial commission for him. Another success for his resume. He closed the email. His eyes drifted to the window. And there she was, Nina. Not physically, but in his memory. Smiling as she received the rag doll, eyes shining with genuine joy over something simple. Marcus walked in without knocking, as always. Did you see the numbers? Massive growth. I did. Man, we're killing it, if we keep this up. Marcus, Darren interrupted him. When's the last time you had dinner at home? Marcus blinked, confused by the abrupt change of subject. You mean with family? With anyone? A home-cooked meal? A real conversation? I don't know. Last week? Last month? Marcus laughed. Why the existential questions? We're in the middle of a record quarter. Darren turned his chair back to the computer. Forget it. Marcus left, muttering something about pressure and stress. Third email. Client satisfaction report. 97% approval. He opened the report. Perfect graphs. Positive comments. Praise for the team's professionalism. Results that should make him proud. But all he could think about was Marla. You left here like everything was too small for your new life. Her words had echoed in his mind since Friday. He couldn't escape them. Fourth email. Congratulations on performance. Quarterly bonus approved. He clicked to see the amount, 50,000 net. Enough money to buy Marla's house 3 times over. He closed the email with no satisfaction at all. The phone rang. An important client wanting to discuss a new proposal. Darren Cole. Hello, Mr. Cole. It's about the expansion into the Asian market. A half-hour of conversation. Proposals, counter-offers, astronomical figures discussed casually. Everything that used to energize him. He hung up and stared at the phone. The necklace. Golden. Hanging around Nina's neck. D+M, forever. Why did it still hurt so much? 10th email of the day. Executive meeting at 2 p.m. Strategic planning for 2025. He opened his schedule. A packed day as usual. Back-to-back meetings, client calls, investor conferences. He stood up and walked to the window. From the 19th floor, the city looked tiny, ant-like cars. Insignificant people rushing to their insignificant commitments. Were any of those people going home to houses filled with life? The phone rang again. The secretary. Mr. Darren, the CEO is on line 2. Put him through. Darren, excellent quarter. The board is impressed. Thank you. We're considering your promotion to SVP. We'll discuss it in December. Senior Vice President. More money. More responsibility. More emptiness. I'm honored. You deserve it. Nobody delivers like you do. He hung up. SVP. The top of the corporate pyramid. The ultimate dream for any executive. Why didn't he feel anything? More emails, more calls, more growing numbers, more contracts being signed. He stopped at the 15th message and closed Outlook. He turned his chair back to the window. The city was out there, vast and impersonal. But his mind was on a small street, a simple house, a child who could change tires, and a woman who had found refuge where he had fled. A knock at the door, Sylvia, his assistant. Mr. Darren. Here's the financial report. Leave it on the desk. And we have the gala dinner invitation, key clients. Confirm my presence. Alone or alone? As always, alone. What would it be like to have a companion? When was the last time he took someone meaningful to an event? Sylvia left. The office was silent again. He opened the report. More impressive numbers. More growth, more success. Yet nothing stirred within him. It was like watching someone else's life, observing achievements that brought no satisfaction, collecting empty trophies on an already full shelf. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Did you see the new client proposal? $3 million a year. He didn't reply. He stood and walked to the window again, pressed his palm against the cold glass. Down below, someone was crossing the street in a hurry, maybe heading home, maybe someone was waiting for them, maybe they had stories beyond numbers and contracts. He went back to the desk, opened Google Maps, typed in Green Hills. 2 hours away. 2 hours until what? Until the place he'd run from. Until Marla's house. Until answers to questions he didn't know how to ask. But he knew one thing, nothing made sense here anymore. The numbers impressed everyone, except him. The contracts kept growing, but they didn't fill the void. Marcus came back in. Darren, are you joining us for dinner at Luigi's? Everyone's going. Not today. Dude, we're celebrating. Best quarter ever. Marcus. Darren looked him straight in the eye. Are you happy? What? Happy? For real? Not professionally? Happy? Marcus hesitated. What's with this talk? Forget it. Marcus left, shaking his head. Darren looked at the screen. More emails pouring in. More demands. More of the same that meant nothing anymore. He closed all programs. He picked up a pen, company letterhead paper, started writing. Not a presentation, not a report, not an email, a resignation letter. He paused at the second line. Was this really what he wanted? He looked around, the luxurious office, achievements on the wall, symbols of power, the privileged view. He thought of the small house, the smell of coffee, the ragdoll in Nina's arms, Nina asking if it was sad to live alone. He kept writing. It wasn't about running from work. It was about running towards something that made sense. The child, the necklace, the town, Marla, everything called him, everything pulled at him. And he decided he would return, but this time to stay. Monday, 6:30 a.m. Darren pulled into the company parking garage. Same time as always. Same reserved spot. Same routine to turn off the car alarm. The corporate building rose before him, 23 floors of glass and steel, reflecting the morning sky. Impressive, as always. A symbol of power, of accomplishment, of everything he'd fought to achieve. Elevator to the 19th floor. Polite greetings at reception. The same good morning to the secretary who didn't look up. The same path to his corner office with that panoramic view of the city. He sat in the ergonomic German chair, turned on the top-of-the-line computer. 3 monitors lit up, displaying spreadsheets, emails, presentations. First email, Darren, we need to go over the third quarter numbers. 18% growth, a record. He opened the spreadsheet. Impressive numbers indeed. High revenue, better margins, optimistic forecasts. Exactly what the board wanted. But inside him, nothing moved. The old excitement wasn't there. The pleasure of achievement was gone. The numbers were just that. Numbers. Colorful charts on a screen. Second email. Meeting at 9. Client XYZ confirmed contract expansion. He checked the details. The contract was worth $2 million over 12 months. A sizable commission. Another success on his track record. He closed the email. His eyes drifted to the window, and there she was, Nina. Not physically, but in memory. Smiling as she received the ragdoll. Her eyes shining with genuine happiness over something simple. Marcus walked in again without knocking. Did you see the numbers? Huge growth. I did. Man, we're crushing it. If we keep up this pace. Marcus, Darren interrupted. When was the last time you ate dinner at home? Marcus blinked, confused. Like, With family. With anyone. A home-cooked meal, a real chat. No idea. Last week. Last month. Marcus chuckled. Why the existential crisis? We're in the middle of a record quarter. Darren turned back to his computer. Never mind. Marcus left, muttering about stress and pressure. Third email. Customer satisfaction report. 97% approval. He opened the report. Perfect charts, positive comments, praise for the team. Results that should make him proud, but all he could think of was Marla. You left this place as if it were too small for your new life. Her words had echoed in his mind since Friday. He couldn't escape. Fourth email. Congrats on the performance. Quarterly bonus approved. He clicked to see the amount. 50,000. Enough to buy Marla's house 3 times over. He closed it with no sense of satisfaction. The phone rang, an important client wanting to discuss a new proposal. Darren Cole. Hello, Mr. Cole. It's about the expansion into the Asian market. Half an hour of conversation. Proposals. Counteroffers. Huge figures tossed around casually, the kind of thing that used to energize him. He hung up, staring at the phone, that golden necklace hanging around Nina's neck. D+M, forever. Why did it still hurt so much? 10th email of the day. Executive meeting at 2 p.m. 2025 strategic planning. He opened his calendar. A full day, as always. Stacked meetings. Calls with clients. Investor conferences. He stood, walked to the window. On the 19th floor, the city looked tiny. Cars like ants. People scurrying to trivial commitments. Did any of those people go home to houses filled with life? The phone rang again. The secretary. Mr. Darren, the CEO on line 2. Put him through. Darren, fantastic quarter. The board's thrilled. Thanks. We're considering promoting you to SVP. We'll discuss it in December. Senior Vice President, more money, more responsibilities, more emptiness. I'm honored. You deserve it. Nobody performs like you. He hung up. SVP, the pinnacle of the corporate ladder, the ultimate executive dream. Why didn't he feel anything? More emails, more calls, more growing figures, more contracts. He stopped at the 15th message and closed Outlook. He spun the chair back toward the window. The city was vast and impersonal, but his mind was in a small street, in a simple house, with a child who could fix tires and a woman who found refuge where he had fled. 3 knocks on the door. Sylvia, his assistant. Mr. Darren, here's the financial report. Just leave it on the desk. And here's the invitation for the gala dinner. Key clients. Confirm my attendance. Alone or alone? Always alone. What would it feel like to not be? Sylvia left. Silence returned to the office. He opened the report. More impressive numbers, more growth, more success. Nothing stirred inside. It was like watching someone else's life, observing achievements that brought no joy, collecting empty trophies on an already full shelf. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Did you see the new client offer? $3 a year. He didn't reply. He got up and walked to the window again, pressed his hand against the cold glass. Far below, someone hurried across the street. Maybe going home. Maybe they had someone waiting. Maybe they had stories beyond numbers and contracts. He went back to his desk, opened Google Maps, typed Green Hills, 2 hours away. 2 hours to what? The place he'd fled? Marla's house? Answers to unasked questions? He only knew one thing. None of this made sense anymore. The numbers impressed everyone but him. Contracts grew. They didn't fill the emptiness. Marcus came back. Darren, are you coming to dinner at Luigi's? Everyone's going. Not today. Man, it's a celebration. Best quarter in history. Marcus. Darren looked him in the eye. Are you happy? What? Happy, truly. Not professionally. Happy. Marcus hesitated. What's this all about? Forget it. Marcus left, shaking his head. Darren stared at the screen. More emails incoming, more demands, more of the same that meant nothing to him now. He closed everything, picked up a pen, company letterhead, began writing. Not a presentation, not a report, not an email. A letter of resignation. He paused at the second line. Was this really what he wanted? He looked around. The plush office, the accolades on the walls, the symbols of power, the spectacular view. He thought of the small house, the smell of coffee, the rag doll, Nina asking if it was sad to live alone. He kept writing. It wasn't about running away from work, it was about running toward what mattered. The little girl, the necklace, the town, Marla. They all called to him, drew him in. He decided he was going back, but this time he would stay. Saturday morning, Darren parked on Flower Street with a bag of art supplies. He'd spent the entire week thinking about this moment, planning how it might go, imagining whether Marla would let him stay. He knocked softly. Nina opened the door before he could ring a second time. "You came back?" Her eyes sparkled. "Mum, it's the paint guy." Marla appeared, surprised. "Darren, I brought..." He lifted the bag. "I thought Nina might like to do some painting, if that's all right." Marla hesitated, but Nina was already tugging the bag from his hands. "Can I see?" "Can I?" "Nina, let him come in first." Marla opened the door wider. "Come in." In the small courtyard of the modest building, Darren spread out an old blanket Marla provided. Nina immediately sat down, exploring the colored pencils like they were treasures. "So many colors," she exclaimed, lining them up by shade. "I've never had so many." "What's your favorite color?" Darren asked, sitting beside her. "Yellow, like the sun, and pink, like the doll you gave me." They began drawing side by side. Darren, who hadn't picked up colored pencils in decades, felt clumsy. Nina, with childish ease, created worlds on paper. "What are you going to draw?" she asked, peering at his blank sheet. "I'm not sure. It's been so long since I drew anything." "What do you think I should draw?" "Draw our street, with Mrs. Martinez's old house." Darren sketched tentative lines. Memory guided his hand. His childhood street appeared on the paper, more personal than spacious. Nina worked with utter concentration, tongue sticking out, brows furrowed, lost in her creative world. Marla appeared with 2 cups of juice, watching from a distance, leaning on the gate that separated the yard from the street. "This one is for your boss," Nina said, pulling out a drawing. "It's a flower. Everyone likes flowers." "I don't have a boss anymore, Nina." She looked confused. "Everybody has a boss. Not me anymore." "Why?" "How do you explain to a 7-year-old about resigning from a career, about choosing to start over?" "I decided I want to do other things." "What kind of things?" "I'm figuring it out." Nina accepted the answer simply, as children do. "Look at mine." She showed her drawing proudly. Darren felt a tightness in his chest. It was a family, 3 stick figures, clearly different, a small one in the middle, a medium one on the left, and a tall one on the right. Above their heads, in a child's handwriting, "Mom, Nina, Darren." "That's us?" he asked gently. "Yes. We're a family now, right?" Marla, who couldn't hear the conversation from where she stood, saw his expression change. She walked closer. "What's going on?" Darren held up the drawing. Marla fell silent for a long moment. "Nina, sweetheart, why don't you go get some more paper from inside?" "Okay." The girl ran off to fetch it. "She doesn't understand," Darren began. "She understands more than she lets on." "I'm sorry, I didn't ask her to..." "Don't apologize. This is how a child processes things." Nina returned with more sheets. "Now let's draw your house, Darren." "My house?" "Yes, where you live." Darren took a new sheet. How to draw an empty apartment, how to depict loneliness. He drew a tall box with many windows. Cold geometry. Straight lines. "It's so square," Nina observed. "Where are the flowers? Where are the people?" "There aren't any. Everybody has flowers. Let me help." Before he could protest, Nina grabbed a green pencil and began adding life to his drawing. Flowers in the window boxes. A bright sun in the sky, heart-shaped clouds. All done. Now it's better. And it was. The apartment looked less lonely with her childish additions. They drew for 2 hours. Nina proudly showed her work to Marla, who praised it and taped some on a makeshift fridge gallery. I'm hungry, Nina announced eventually. How about we go eat together? Darren suggested, glancing at Marla. There's a simple diner on the corner, she considered. Nina likes their tomato soup. In the small local diner, Nina sat between them. She chatted happily about her drawings, school, her new doll. Tomorrow's Father's Day at school, she commented casually while eating her soup. Marla swallowed hard. It is, Darren asked. Yep. Everyone's going with their dad, except me. I'm going with Mom. Silence fell over the table. Hao could come with me, Nina said, looking at Darren. If you want. Nina, Marla began. It's just one day, Mom. It wouldn't be forever. Darren looked at Marla, seeking approval or rejection. We'll see, she answered softly. They returned home after lunch. Nina ran ahead, eager to show more drawings. Marla and Darren walked side by side in comfortable silence. You brightened her day, Marla finally said. She brightened mine, he replied without hesitation. It was true. It had been months since a single day held real meaning beyond work and obligations. It's risky, Marla added quietly. What? Getting too attached. She gets attached too quickly. I get attached. And if it's not risky, if it's just... Right? Marla didn't reply immediately. Later in the afternoon, while Nina colored inside, Darren and Marla sat on the small porch. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky with orange and pink hues. We need to talk, Marla said. I know. What do you really want, Darren? He took a deep breath, organizing thoughts that had been forming for days. Life passed me by, he began. When I looked back, I'd built everything, but I was alone. Marla waited patiently. For 12 years, I woke up every day thinking about the next rung, the next promotion, the next apartment, the next car, and I got it all, every goal I set. And it's empty, completely empty. There are no people, no laughter, no life. He paused. No Nina drawing families. No you making coffee without sugar because you remember how I like it. You chose that life. I did, because I thought it was what I wanted. I didn't know it would be so lonely. So now I'm not sure what I want. I only know what I don't want. I don't want to wake up alone anymore. I don't want to schedule my meals around spreadsheets. I don't want to chase things that mean nothing. Marla looked at the sky changing colors. You don't have to return to the past, she said calmly. You just have to choose to stay in the present. What do you mean? Stop running to the future. Stop trying to fix the past. Stop planning 10 steps ahead. Just be here. Now, with what is, and what is right now. Nina, me, an afternoon of drawings, a bowl of soup at the corner diner, a sunset on the porch. Is that enough? It's more than most people have. They sat in silence as the sun disappeared. Can I ask something? Darren said eventually. Of course. Why did you come here? To my hometown? Marla gave a sad smile. By chance, I saw the house listing. Good price. Small town. Good for raising a child. Only after moving did I realize it was where you grew up. And you stayed. I did. The house was perfect for us. Nina adapted quickly. She made friends at school. And the necklace. I've always worn it. It might be silly, but it kept good memories. Even after I disappeared. Especially after that, it reminded me how happy we were, that true love existed once. Exists, he corrected. Marla looked directly at him. Does it? For me, it always did. I just got lost. And now I want to find myself here. If you'll let me. Nina appeared at the door, cutting the moment short. Sorry to interrupt, but it's dark now. Can I turn on the light? Sure, honey, Marla answered. Darren, are you staying for dinner? He looked at Marla. She hesitated briefly, then gave a barely perceptible nod. I'll stay. During dinner, Nina chatted about school, friends, plans for the weekend, a constant flow of childish energy filling the little house. Darren helped wash the dishes afterward, simple tasks he hadn't done in years. Marla washed while he dried. Nina put away plates in the low cabinet. Mom, is it okay if Darren comes again tomorrow? Nina asked, getting ready for bed. If he wants to. Do you want to? Yes, I do. Nina beamed. Okay, I'm going to sleep now, but tomorrow we can draw more. Deal. Thanks for the best day ever, she whispered, hugging him. After Nina went to bed, Darren prepared to leave. Tomorrow? He asked at the door. Tomorrow, Marla confirmed, for the school event. We'll see how Nina feels when she wakes up. I can't promise. Fair enough. He lingered in the doorway. He wanted to kiss her. He wanted to hold her. He wanted to rewind 8 years of absence. Instead, he gently touched her hand. Thank you. For today. For letting me be part of it. Thank you for showing up. In his car, Darren looked at the lit-up house. Nina waved from the window with her rag doll. A child happy with so little. A child unaware he once chose to be alone. He drove back slowly to the city. The apartment awaited, but it no longer felt as empty. He carried with him colors that hadn't been there yesterday, laughter that filled the silence, the feeling of belonging to something more than numbers and contracts. For the first time in years, he slept without the weight of loneliness, and he dreamed of colorful drawings of families. Darren woke up early on Sunday. Nina was probably still asleep, perhaps dreaming of colors and drawings. The school event was at 10. He had enough time to do something he'd avoided for 18 years. He decided to visit his old neighborhood. He drove slowly through familiar streets. Every corner sparked a dormant memory. There was the bar where his dad watched soccer games. There, the pharmacy where he picked up medicine for his mum. 10 minutes later, he reached his old street. He parked at the corner. The same street lamp, now with a new sign, designated parking zone. Before Dean, there were no parking rules at all. Back then, there were only 3 cars on the entire street. He stepped out and began walking. His footsteps echoed with familiarity despite the time that had passed. The uneven asphalt, now partially repaved. The loud storm drain that always rattled when cars passed over it. First stop was the school, the old public school. A single-story building painted light blue, a green iron gate, the same colors, freshly updated, the same low wall where he'd sat waiting for his mum countless times. He approached the iron gate. It was Sunday, so it was locked. Through the bars, he saw the courtyard, the same big tree in the middle, now larger, the same little gazebo where they performed plays, the same chalk marks on the ground where they played hopscotch at recess. He touched the gate. It felt cold. How many times had he pushed through that very entrance? First day of class, crying. Graduation from middle school, proud. Every rushed morning or lazy morning. He remembered his math teacher, Ms. Harper, short, thick glasses, infinite patience. She taught fractions using fresh oranges at snack time. Where was she now? Retired? Deceased? He'd never tried to find out. He turned left down the street, 3 blocks to the soccer field. The field looked smaller than in his memories. It wasn't dirt anymore. Artificial turf covered the ground. Official soccer goals, not the wooden posts they once improvised. A small concrete bleacher, a new chain-link fence all around. He entered through a squeaky gate, stepped onto the artificial grass. It felt different from the dirt he remembered between his toes. Cleaner, but more artificial, less real. He walked to the center of the field, closed his eyes. He could almost hear the shouts of pickup games, the whistle of the P.E. teacher, the cheering kids on the sidelines, his own name being shouted when he scored. He was 12, hair always messy despite his mom wetting and combing it, knees forever scraped, second-hand cleats he loved more than anything. Dreams of going pro like any kid in that small town. He opened his eyes. The field was silent, empty. Only him and the ghosts of Sundays past, races, falls, triumphant goals, heartbreaks over losses. He kept walking. 2 streets ahead was his grandparents' house on his mother's side. He stopped across the street. The house was different. It used to be white with blue shutters. Now it was painted pastel green. A new, taller fence, an automatic gate with an intercom, a security system in plain sight, but the structure was the same. The window of the room where he spent vacations, the porch where Grandpa fixed old radios, the backyard where Grandma kept chickens and he snuck eggs to make homemade meatballs. He was 5 when he stayed there temporarily. His parents were divorcing. The tension at home unbearable. 3 months that felt like a blissful eternity. A peace he wouldn't feel again for many years, except in fleeting moments. Grandma Rose teaching secret recipes. Grandpa Anthony crafting wooden toy cars on Saturday afternoons. Fresh cookies after school. Hose baths in the heat. Made up ghost stories to spook him delightfully. They died in a car accident when he was 22, driving back from a doctor's appointment near the city. He couldn't attend their funeral. A crucial business meeting, a contract closing, his meteoric career. He sent an expensive wreath, a 2-minute condolence call, promised to visit the grave. Never did. Now they lived only in memory. And in that house owned by strangers who probably didn't know the floorboards hid decades of love. He resumed walking, heading to his own childhood home. He knew it was close before he saw it. The same gentle slope of the street. The same pothole the town never properly fixed. The same wall he climbed to escape Mr. John's dog when he was 8. There it was. Number 847. The house bought the year he was born, where he lived until he was 18, where he formed his identity, faced his first fears, nurtured his first dreams, now painted a light blue. It used to be yellow with white shutters. The window to his old room had been changed, bars on all the windows now. No visible alarm system, but the porch was exactly the same. There he learned to ride his bike, 2 weeks of trial and error. There he kissed Julia, the neighbor girl, at 13, sweaty and trembling. There he sat when his dog Rex died, crying more than he ever would again over any loss. He stopped at the gate, hands slightly sweaty. He couldn't bring himself to ring the bell. He had no explanation for the strangers living in his original space, people who slept in his old bedroom, ate where his family ate, watched TV where he watched cartoons, lived where he built the foundations of who he was. He stood there unmoving, not seized by romantic nostalgia, but by something deeper and more unsettling. Absolute clarity. For the first time, he fully understood what he had lost. Not just physical places, but deep connections. The essential feeling of belonging, of having roots in the ground that hold you up. He had cut every tie linking him to this place, abrupt phone changes, new email addresses, zero contact with neighbors of 2 decades, 18 years with not a single visit, as if he needed to annihilate the past completely to build his future. Now at 36, an esteemed executive with an enviable bank account, an apartment that could buy the entire street, but with no real home, no genuine sense of belonging, no place he could viscerally call mine. The light blue house in front of him was occupied by new residents creating their own memories. The green grandparents' house held strangers who would never hear about healing teas and century-old recipes. The school taught other children dreaming of the future. The soccer field saw new kids chasing glory. He was just a shadow at his own funeral. The tears began slowly, then came steadily, not from romantic longing for what was, nor simple regret for past choices, but from a devastating clarity about what he'd really done. He had run completely, not just moved away. He had fled emotionally and spiritually, severing every root because he thought roots were chains holding him back. And he was discovering, too late, that roots are the foundations that allow real growth. He cried there, in front of the blue house that used to be yellow. He cried for the grandparents he never visited after they died, for the funeral he missed for important commitments, for neighbors he forgot existed, for the child he used to be and tried to distance himself from. He cried for Nina, growing up without a father because he'd run from real commitments, for Marla, raising a child alone because he'd prioritized abstractions and numbers, for 8 wasted years, for vital connections he had deliberately cut, for a life built on the false premise that success meant emotional distance. He wiped his eyes on his sleeve, took a deep breath, looked at the house that watched him grow. The child he once was still existed there. Not physically, of course, but in every brick, every corner, every memory etched into the walls. The Christmases he anticipated with joy, the scoldings in the kitchen, the relief of coming home after a bad day. He didn't need to become that innocent child again, but he needed to honor that he had existed, that it was a fundamental part of who he was, that the values learned there, later abandoned, were exactly what he was searching for now. He checked his phone, 9:50. 10 minutes until Nina's school event. He turned and walked back to the car. His steps now had renewed purpose. He wasn't running away. He wasn't just visiting ghosts. He was walking toward the present, with full clarity about the lessons of the past. He finally understood what truly mattered, not denying origins but building on them. Not fleeing commitments but embracing them, not choosing between ambition and love, but realizing one without the other only created hollow men despite apparent success. Nina would be waiting, perhaps nervous, perhaps excited, perhaps just happy she might have someone at Father's Day. Marla would be watching carefully, gauging if he had truly changed, if he really wanted to stay or if this was just another escape. And now he knew, with no more doubts, no fear of commitment. He wanted to stay, not out of guilt for the past he couldn't change, not out of the current loneliness he couldn't bear, but from absolute clarity about what truly matters in life. He gave one last look at the childhood street as he got in the car, mentally saluted all the versions of himself that had ever existed on those sidewalks, the memories that shaped his character, the young man who left determined to conquer the world. He had conquered the material world and lost his emotional home. Now, he had a unique chance to build both, to have professional success without personal loneliness. Realizing ambition without existential emptiness, he started the engine, headed toward Nina's school, toward the present he could consciously shape, toward a life that finally made true sense. Night fell softly over Flower Street. Darren and Marla were on the small porch, watching the first stars appear in the darkening sky. Nina had just gone to bed after proudly showing all her drawings from the afternoon. The silence between them was heavy, filled with unspoken questions and undisclosed truths. "Marla," Darren finally broke the silence, "I need to ask you something." "What is it? Why does she wear that necklace?" Marla sipped her coffee slowly before answering. "Nina always thought it was pretty. It's the only piece of jewelry I have, aside from a few cheap accessories. She borrows it sometimes when she goes to play outside. She likes how it sparkles in the afternoon sun." "That's all." "That's all? Why would I lie about something so simple?" Darren hesitated, organizing the thoughts that had haunted him for days. "It's a strange coincidence, don't you think? Of all the kids in the world, in all possible places, she's the one who helped me. And she was wearing that exact necklace." Marla gazed at the horizon, where the last glimmer of daylight was fading. "Sometimes life works in mysterious ways. Marla, I need to ask something more serious." She turned to him. "I know exactly what you're going to ask." Darren's heart raced. They stayed in silence for a long moment, the distant sound of cars filling the void. "Nina is 7. "Yes. The last time we were together was 8 years ago. It was in September. I remember the exact date." "Marla," his voice came out low, almost a whisper. "Please," she sighed deeply, as if releasing a burden carried for a long time. "Nina is your daughter, Darren." The world stopped. Darren felt the air leave his lungs. His hands began to tremble uncontrollably. The words echoed in his mind, but didn't quite make sense yet. I'm a father." "Yes." "Oh my God." The words came out as an incredulous whisper. "My God, Marla, I have a daughter." The tears came without warning, not tears of sadness, but something far more complex. Relief mixed with guilt, joy mixed with regret, the crushing weight of 7 lost years. "All this time," he murmured to himself, "all this time I had a daughter and didn't know." Marla stayed quiet, watching him process. Her hands were steady, as though she'd prepared for this moment for years. "Why didn't you tell me?" he choked out between sobs. "Why didn't you try to tell me?" "How?" Her voice contained old hurt. "You'd changed your number, your email. You cut all contact. How could I let you know when you clearly wanted nothing to do with me? You could have tried through the company." "I did." Her voice was firm now. "For 2 whole months after I found out I was pregnant, I called your office over 20 times. I sent messages. I tried every avenue I could think of. And They said you had personally instructed them to block any contact that wasn't strictly professional, that you wanted nothing related to your previous life. Those were the exact words. Darren lowered his head, shame burning his cheeks. He remembered that instruction perfectly. He'd been adamant about cutting ties with his old life. I didn't know you were pregnant. No, you didn't. And when I realized I couldn't reach you, that you had obviously chosen to erase me, I made a decision. Marla looked him in the eye. I decided to raise her alone, without depending on someone I couldn't even locate. I could have helped, at least financially. I would have... We didn't need money, Darren, Marla interrupted gently. We needed a father, presence, someone who actually wanted to be here, not someone forced to pay child support. Darren wept openly now. He thought of all those nights he spent alone in his empty apartment, all the weekends with no plans, all the professional triumphs he'd toasted with no one but an expensive bottle of whiskey, and all that time he had a daughter somewhere, learning to walk, to talk, to read, to live. Does she know? He managed to ask through tears. Does she know I'm her father? No, not yet. I've been waiting for the right moment to tell her. When would that be? When I was sure you really meant it, that you wouldn't just show up in her life and disappear again when the novelty wore off. Do you think I've changed now? Marla studied his face for a long time. You seem different, more present, like you finally stopped running from something. I have changed, Marla, so much that I resigned from my job. You what? I quit. Last week, I couldn't pretend that life mattered anymore. And what will you do now? Now I know I'm a father, and I've missed 7 years of her life, and I don't want to miss another day. He dried his eyes with the back of his hand. I want to make up for lost time. I want to be here fully. Darren, it's not that simple. You can't just show up after 8 years and decide to be a dad. So how does it work? First, you prove you're serious, that you won't vanish at the first difficulty, that you really have changed. She paused. Nina deserves stability. She deserves someone who stays there, not someone who appears whenever they have an existential crisis. How long will it take to prove I'm serious? As long as it takes. A month, 6 months, a year. There's no timetable for building trust. Darren nodded slowly. And meanwhile, you keep coming. Every day, if you like. Help with homework. Walk her to school. Just be around. No rush, no pressure. Let her get used to you. And you? What about me? How do you feel about all this? About me coming back? About us? Marla looked down at her hands, choosing her words carefully. I felt betrayed when you left. Then I was angry. Then I was scared of raising a child alone. But over time, the anger faded. And I adapted. And now I'm not sure what to feel. Part of me is happy you finally know. Another part is afraid Nina will get attached and you'll leave again. I won't leave. You said that before, when you promised we'd stay together, even with you moving to the big city. Darren stood up, walked to the porch railing, looked out at the dark street, a few lit windows in neighboring houses. He thought about all the choices he'd made, all the broken promises. I was a different person then, chasing things I thought would make me happy. And now I know what really matters, and it's here. You and Nina. This simple life I once thought was too small. He turned to face her. I want to stay completely, not as a visitor, as a father, as what? As someone who finally understands what he lost and wants to build something real. Marla remained silent for a long moment. Let's take it slow, Darren. Very slow. First Nina, then we'll see. Can I come tomorrow? Yes. And the day after that too. And the day after that? Thank you. Don't thank me. Earn it. Darren got up to leave, paused at the porch door, looking back. Marla. Yes. I'm sorry. For everything. For running away. For not being here. For missing so much. I know. And maybe one day I'll fully forgive you, but first, you need to forgive yourself. He nodded and left, sitting in his car for a few minutes before starting the engine. A daughter. He had a daughter. Nina wasn't just a kind child who helped a stranger on the road. She was his daughter. He drove slowly back to his apartment, which now felt even emptier than before. But he also knew it wouldn't remain empty for long. He had a new mission, a new reason to wake up every morning. For the first time in 8 years, Darren Cole had something more important than work. He had a family to build, and this time, he wouldn't run. Sunday morning, Darren arrived early with fresh pastries still warm from the local bakery. Nina ran to the door at the sound of the bell, as she'd started doing for the past 3 weeks. "Good morning, Darren," she grinned, hugging his legs. "Good morning, Princess. I brought pastries for breakfast." At the kitchen table, while they ate, Nina chatted excitedly about her plans for the day. Marla watched the interaction, a decision weighing on her mind. After breakfast, while Darren helped wash dishes and Nina arranged her drawings in the living room, Marla gathered her courage. "Nina, honey," she called, "could you come here for a moment? I need to talk to you about something." Nina put down her pencils and walked into the kitchen. She climbed onto a chair, feet dangling, not reaching the floor. "What is it, Mum? Did I do something wrong?" "No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong." Marla exchanged a glance with Darren, who nodded encouragingly. "Remember when you used to ask about your dad?" "Yes, you always said he was far away." "That's true, he was." Marla took a deep breath. "Nina, Darren is your dad." The kitchen fell completely silent. The only sound was a drip from the faucet. Nina turned to stare at Darren, her wide eyes studying his face intently. Seconds felt like an eternity. Darren's heart pounded, not knowing what reaction to expect. Finally, a smile began to form on Nina's lips. "That's why you look like me," she said simply. "You think we look alike?" Darren crouched to her level. "Your eyes. And you stick your tongue out when you're concentrating, just like me." Darren laughed nervously. "That's true. So you're really my daddy?" "Yes, I am. And where were you all this time?" "I was far away, working in a big city." He chose his words carefully. "I didn't know you existed. When your mom tried to tell me, I'd already changed my address and phone." "I was very foolish." Nina thought about that with a child's seriousness. "But you came back." "I did. And now I don't want to leave again." "Promise." "I promise." Nina was quiet for a few more seconds. Then, with childlike naturalness, she held out her arms. "So can I call you Daddy?" Tears pricked Darren's eyes instantly. He scooped her up and hugged her tight. "Yes. Please, call me Daddy." "Daddy?" Nina tried the word out loud near his ear. "Daddy? It sounds strange." "You'll get used to it," he whispered. "And I'll have a daddy who won't leave. I'll be here, every day." Nina pulled back to look him in the eyes. "Then you'll take me to school like the other dads. If you want me to, and help me with my really hard homework. I'll help with everything. And watch movies with me on Sundays. Every movie you want. And make pancakes when I'm sad." "I'll make pancakes whenever you want." Nina hugged him again, even tighter. "So now I really have a daddy." "You do. Forever." Marla watched the scene, tears in her eyes. It was the moment she had imagined so many times, but had never known how it would actually be. Nina slipped out of Darren's arms and walked over to Marla. "Mom, does this mean we're a complete family now?" "Yes, sweetheart. We're a family now, like in my drawings. Exactly like your drawings." Suddenly, Nina grabbed Marla's and Darren's hands, bringing them together. "There, now you two are together, and I have both Mom and Dad." "Nina," Marla started, "I know you don't live together yet, but are we going to be like this forever? He comes over every day, then goes away?" Darren and Marla exchanged a look. It was the question both had been avoiding. "We'll see how things go," Marla said gently. "Okay, but I like it when he stays." That evening, after a dinner they prepared together, Nina insisted that Darren read her bedtime story. "It's a dad and daughter tradition," she declared. In her room, she picked a book about family. "I chose this on purpose," she confessed, "because today I found out I really have one." Darren read, voice thick with emotion. By the end, Nina was almost asleep. "Daddy?" "Yes." "Will you be here when I wake up?" "I will." "And tomorrow?" "Also tomorrow." "Every day?" Darren kissed her forehead. "Every day." "Dad's promise." "Good night, Daddy." "Good night, my little girl." In the living room, Marla waited with 2 cups of coffee. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Different," he answered. "Like I finally found my place in the world." She took it well. Kids are amazing like that. And now I'm a father, officially. And you and I, he hesitated. And we'll figure it out. One day at a time. Nina's right, you know, about me coming and going every day. I know, but we're not ready for more yet. I understand. I'm not in a rush. I just want to be here. Marla looked at him for a long moment. You really have changed. Darren from 8 years ago would have hurried everything. 8 years ago, Darren lost 8 years. Now I just want to enjoy each day. They sat quietly, listening to Nina breathing in the next room. Thank you, Marla finally said. For what? For coming back, for staying, for wanting to be a real dad. I should be the one thanking you, for raising her so well, for giving me a chance. For the first time in a long while, when Darren left that house, he didn't feel as though he was leaving. He felt like he was going to rest so he could return the next day to his family. His real home was no longer the empty apartment. It was there in that small house with his daughter and the woman he had always loved. For the first time, they were truly a family, not geographically complete maybe, but complete in love. And for Darren, that was more than enough for now. The new routine began the following Monday. Darren arrived at 7 in the morning with fresh bread and the local newspaper. Nina answered the door before he could knock. Daddy, you brought bread. I did. And coffee for your mum. That was the norm now. He had naturally taken on the role that had long been empty. In the kitchen, he helped Nina with breakfast while Marla finished getting ready for work. You have a science test today, right? He asked, spreading butter on her bread. Yeah, about the solar system. Did you review everything yesterday? Sure did. You helped me, remember? I remember. You'll do great. Marla appeared, hair pinned up. Thanks for breakfast. No problem. How did you sleep? Fine. You? Same. Little couple-like chats. Simple. Routine. As if they'd done this for years. He dropped Nina off at school. On the way, she talked about her dreams, her plans for recess, and the latest class gossip. Daddy? Yes. Can I tell you something? Anything. I used to make up stories that my dad was traveling when other kids asked. What did you say? That you were a pilot, or a traveling doctor, or an explorer. And now I say my dad. Actually, what do you do again? Darren laughed. Right now, my job is taking care of you. That's the best job in the world. It sure is. At school, he helped carry her backpack to the classroom. He greeted teachers who were starting to recognize him. Good morning, Mr. Darren. Good morning, Ms. Carter. Nina's getting great math scores lately. She's dedicated. Just needs a bit of patience on the harder problems. It's good to see her father so involved. It's good to be involved. Back at the house, he settled into the routine he'd created, tidying the kitchen clutter from breakfast, washing last night's dishes Marla left for the next day, making the bed in the small master bedroom that Nina used when she had nightmares and slept with Marla. The house was small, but his presence was becoming part of it. At noon, he ate lunch alone. Something simple, a sandwich, fruit, juice. He planned the rest of the day, what to fix, what groceries to buy, what activities to propose when Nina got home. At 2:00, he picked Nina up. She always burst out of school, backpack dragging. Daddy, how was your day? I got a 9 on the test. I knew you'd do well. On the way back, they stopped at the bakery. Nina chose a pastry. He had a coffee while she recounted the day's details. Gabriel had a fight with Sophia. Why? Because she said his dad is cooler than mine. And what did you do? I told her she doesn't know my dad yet, and that you make the best pancakes in the world. Do I? Haven't tried them yet, but I'm sure you do. Back home, Nina did her homework at the kitchen table. Darren sat beside her, patiently addressing each question. Daddy, I don't understand this problem. Let's break it down. What's the question asking? Divide 48 by 6. Right. Think of it like, if you have 48 candies and want to give them equally to 6 friends, each one gets 8. Exactly. See? By 4:30, Marla returned from work. She found the house tidy, Nina doing homework, dinner already started. Hey, how was work? Busy as always. How's everything here? Nina got a 9 on her test and finished half her homework. Mom, Dad's making pasta with sauce that smells just like yours. Marla watched, feeling a warm emotion rise in her chest. This was all she'd ever wanted, a normal, complete life. They had dinner together. Nina talked non-stop. Marla shared about work. Darren listened, pitched in, cracked jokes that made them laugh. Daddy, tell me again about that day you got lost in the city. Again, you've heard that story a million times, but I like it. After dinner, they each had a task. Darren washed dishes. Marla tidied the house. Nina prepped her backpack for the next day. Dad, can you help me with my science folder? Sure. They sat on the couch, cutting, gluing, organizing. Crafts tested his patience but filled his heart. By 8:30, Nina showered. Marla laid out clothes for the next day. Darren packed lunches. Mom, can Dad help me with my bath? He can if he wants to. Sure, I'd love to. The small tub was too cramped for him. His knees hurt kneeling on the floor, but he listened patiently to her stories about classmates and teachers. Daddy, do you think I'm pretty? I think you're the prettiest girl in the whole world. And smart. The smartest. And funny. The funniest. Just like you. By 9, Nina was in pajamas, teeth brushed, waiting for story time. Which book tonight? The one about the princess who saves the kingdom. Again. We've read that 3 times this month. But it's my favorite since you came back. He read it with different voices. She laughed at his attempts to imitate a dragon, corrected him when he messed up lines. Daddy. Yes. You'll stay forever. Forever. Promise? A father's promise. Nina fell asleep. He slipped out to the living room. Marla waited on the couch. How was your first official day in the routine? Exhausting, wonderful, terrifying. Why terrifying? I'm scared I'm not doing it right, that I'm not the dad she deserves. You're doing great. Really. It feels like I'm improvising half the time. Every parent improvises. That's how it works. They fell quiet. The TV played softly in the background. Nina's breathing echoed in the next room. Marla. Yes. I don't want to make up for the past. That's impossible. I want to live the now with you both. She gazed at him intently. Then stay. Completely. Not halfway. Not visiting. Completely. Stay with you how? Leave that empty apartment. Move in here. For real. Darren was silent. He wanted it. He was afraid of pushing too fast. Are you sure? Yes. Nina needs stability. I need help. And you, I need you both. Then stay. Forever. Forever. He pulled her into a hug. Their first kiss in 8 years. Soft, cautious, perfect. Nina popped out of the bedroom doorway. Finally, I was waiting for that. They laughed, pulling apart. Back to bed, little spy. I just wanted water, and to see if you'd kiss. Go back to bed. Daddy, are you sleeping here tonight? Darren looked to Marla, who nodded. Yes. Awesome. Tomorrow I can have breakfast with my whole family. Nina scurried back to her room. Well, looks like that's decided, Marla laughed. Looks that way. What do you have in that apartment that you can't live without? Nothing, just clothes and books. The rest is decor. Then bring your clothes and books tomorrow. Tomorrow? Why wait? He kissed her again, longer this time, more certain. I love you, I always have. I love you too. Even when I hated you for leaving. I'll never leave again. Not even if I tell you to. Not even then. In the early hours, Nina found them asleep on the couch, arms intertwined. She smiled, grabbed a blanket, and covered them. Now we really are a family, she whispered. The next morning, Darren woke up at home. his true home, with the smell of coffee brewed by Marla, with Nina jumping on the bed to wake him. "Daddy, you're here." "I am, and I'm staying." Breakfast together, the three of them, like a family. They planned the day, the weekend, their life. "Are you getting your things from the apartment today?" Marla asked. "I'll grab the basics. The rest, we'll sell the apartment." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. I don't need two homes when I only want one family. And work. Will you look for another job?" "Eventually. For now, I want to be a full-time dad." "Can I suggest something?" "Of course. There's an administrative opening at the store where I work. Good hours. Decent pay. Would you recommend me?" "I already did. Told them my daughter's father was available." He laughed. "Daughter's father, huh? And my boyfriend. Officially?" Nina looked at them both. "Do boyfriends get married?" "Sometimes," Marla answered cautiously. "And when they marry, they become husband and wife?" "Yes. Then I'd have both my mom's and dad's last names. Nina." "Just curious." Darren and Marla exchanged amused smiles. "We'll see how things go," he said. "Okay. But if you do get married, I want a party." "Deal." He drove Nina to school, then returned. Marla had already left for work. He looked around the house, the small home that was now a real home. Nina's drawings on the fridge, Marla's clothes in the closet, space for his things, for his life. He sat on the couch where they'd fallen asleep in each other's arms. He smiled. For the first time in 8 years, Darren Cole was exactly where he belonged. He was part of a family, completely. It was a Thursday night, 2 months after Darren learned about Nina. They were having dinner as a family when he built up the courage to ask the question he'd been thinking about for weeks. "Marla, Nina, I have a proposal." Nina looked curious, mid-bite of her lasagna. "What is it, Daddy?" "I was thinking, how about both of you move in with me?" "To my apartment," Nina swallowed quickly, excited. "Really? With a pool on the rooftop?" "Yes, with a pool, gym, playground." Marla set down her fork, her expression changing. "Darren, think about it. More space for Nina, good private schools nearby, an elevator so you don't climb stairs." "This is Nina's home," Marla responded gently but firmly. "It's where she took her first steps, where she lost her first tooth, where she drew on the wall and I couldn't erase it because it was too beautiful. And it's where you began, too, where you learned you were a father, where we found each other again." Darren stayed silent, absorbing her words. "You don't see. I just want to give you two the best. Comfort, opportunities. The best for us is being together. The place matters far less than the people." Nina glanced between them, sensing the tension. "I like our house," she said softly. "It's small, but it's ours." That night, after Nina slept, they talked on the porch. "I'm sorry," Darren said. "I only know how to take care of you in a way that involves money, luxury. I didn't think about what you really need." "I know. But you still think in terms of money, of fancy things. We needed something else." "What did you need?" "You. Not your bank account. You here, every day." Darren was quiet, thinking, "You're right. I'm sorry." That following Saturday, Darren showed up at the house with news. "I have something to tell you." "What?" Marla asked. "I listed my apartment for sale, and I bought a different one." "Darren? Wait, let me finish. I bought a simple apartment here in town, 2 bedrooms, 20 minutes from this house." Marla looked surprised. "Why?" "Because I realized it's not you two who need to fit into my life. It's me who needs to build a life that fits both of you. And work. I talked to HR. I'll work 3 days a week at the office, 2 from home. That way I have more time for Nina, more time for you." Marla smiled slowly. "You really are changing. I'm learning to live differently." Nina appeared carrying a juice box, some spilled. "Daddy, are you going to live close by?" "Yes, 20 minutes from here. I can come over every day for dinner if you want." "Every day?" "Every single day." Over the next month, the new routine took shape. Darren adapted his life completely. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at the office. Tuesdays and Thursdays working from home, always available for Nina's emergencies. Daddy, can I call you if the teacher gives me extra homework? You can call me anytime, even if you're in a super important meeting. Nina, there's no meeting more important than you. The new apartment was simple. 2 bedrooms, a small living room, a functional kitchen. Nothing like his old place, but it had pictures of them on every wall. I like it, Marla said the first time she visited. It feels more like you, the you now. It's enough, and it's close to you two. At school, Nina bragged, my dad lives near here. Sometimes he has lunch with me in the cafeteria. Your dad is cool, her classmates said. Yep, he even learned to braid my hair. Evenings with the 3 of them were sacred. Darren always arrived for dinner, helped with homework, watched cartoons, read stories. Daddy, you have to sleep over tonight. My tummy hurts. A stomachache? Yeah. And when you sleep here, I sleep better. Then I'll stay. At work, he had completely changed his approach. Meetings at 6 p.m. declined, long business trips, only when necessary. Cole, you're different, Marcus observed. I'm prioritizing differently now. Since when does family outrank work? Since you actually have one. Marcus laughed, but had a hint of envy in his tone. Must be nice. Better than any promotion. One Sunday afternoon, 3 months after learning about Nina, Darren and Marla were on the porch while Nina colored in the yard. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Why did you give me another chance? Marla thought carefully. Because you came back different, not as a successful executive, but as the lost man I fell in love with. I really was lost. And now I know exactly where I am and where I want to stay. Darren held her hand. You were, and still are, the only love of my life. Marla smiled, squeezing his hand. Now we start the right way. What do you mean? Slowly, without pressure, just growing together. The 3 of us, like a real family. Exactly, Nina appeared, interrupting. What are you guys talking about? Family, Darren answered. Ours. Ours. I like our family, she said, sitting between them. Even if you don't live in the same house yet. Yet? Marla laughed. Yeah, one day you'll get married, and then we'll be an official family with paperwork. Nina, that's not exactly how it works. Sure it is, Mom. I saw it in a movie. Darren chuckled, kissing her head. When that day comes, you'll be the first to know. Promise. Promise. That night, after putting Nina to bed, Darren said goodbye to Marla at the door like usual. Thanks for today, she said. Thank you for letting me be part of it all. You're part of it, not a guest. It's different now. How so? Before, I felt like I was arriving. Now I feel like I'm coming home. Marla smiled, giving him a gentle kiss. That's because you are. In his car, Darren drove slowly to his new apartment. He paused at a traffic light, looking around. The town that once seemed like a missed opportunity now was just the distance between 2 homes, the place where he slept and the place where he truly lived. At his apartment, he got ready for bed. The mattress felt too large. He was used to the bed at Marla's, where Nina might crawl in after a nightmare. Daddy, I had a bad dream. Come here, princess. And she'd sleep between him and Marla, feeling safe. In his empty room, he picked up the phone to say goodnight. Hi, Marla answered. Hi. I just wanted to say goodnight. Nina wants to talk to you. Daddy, came her sleepy voice. Hi, sweetheart. Are you at home? I am. Me too. We're still a family even if we sleep in different houses, right? Yes, princess. We're a family no matter what. Good night, Daddy. Love you. Love you too. Marla got back on the phone. She asked me to call you. She said she always calls to say good night when you don't sleep here. She does? Every night. Didn't I tell you? No. Yeah, for 2 months now, always before she falls asleep. Darren felt his heart swell. I didn't know. Now you do. Good night, Darren. Marla. Yes, I love you. I love you too. Darren hung up and lay down, stared at the ceiling, thinking how life had changed in a few months. He had a job that no longer consumed him, an apartment that was a shelter, not a status symbol, a daughter who called him every night, a woman patient enough to wait for him to grow up. For the first time in his adult life, Darren Cole was building something genuinely his, not a career to impress others, not wealth to accumulate, but a family to love. In the darkness, he smiled. Tomorrow, he'd go home again. Nina tugging at his hand to show off her drawings, Marla smiling when he arrived, loud dinners, homework, bedtime stories for his real life, which no longer fit in large apartments or important meetings, which fit perfectly in a small house on a simple street with two people who loved him for who he was, not for what he had. Darren Cole had finally found his place in the world, and for the first time in 8 years, he wasn't arriving or leaving. He was home, even when he wasn't. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.